Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names, kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you only on Grande's Graveyard. Oh yeah, we are looking too sweet tonight, live and living color on Grande's Graveyard. And it is time for the Japanese horror special number 2. Yes, ladies and gents, tonight I had initially planned to do Battle Royale and a little trilogy. I didn't get to Battle Royale. It's funny, this is the second straight of the Japanese horror specials that I intended on reviewing Battle Royale and am not going to get to it just due to time constraints due to the week. But tonight we will take a deep dive and ghouly gander into one of, what would you classify this trilogy as? I would say the last big franchise / trilogy of the J-horror boom in Japan in like the mid-2000s, and that is none other than the One Missed Call Trilogy. Yes, the One Missed Call Trilogy. Of course, I have this 2-disc special edition from Arrow release. Of course, it does have, the 2 discs here. One Missed Call 2 and 3 on the back end, and reversible cover art. So awesome shout out to my friends over at Arrow. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be when it comes to horror boutique labels, if you will. This is a trilogy that, I'll be perfectly honest, aside from the first film, I was not familiar with the sequels, and I had only seen the first movie once, so I was like really wanting to get to these movies, use an excuse that, watch them, and, here we are live in living color tonight, and we're going to dive into these J-horror movies. So I'm very excited about this, very excited to have everybody in the house. We'll say hi to everybody. Ciao, Grande and friends! Welcome, Miss C. Hope all is well with you. I know you were telling me you might be watching the OG One Missed Call today, so very excited to hear your thoughts. Of course, that will be the first movie up. We got Double H, Hearst Hill. What up, Double G? What's up, brother? I'm rocking the Graveyard tee, baby. This is Graveyard Disciples. They're a wrestling tag team. And I was like, I got to get their shirt just to have another Graveyard shirt in the house. So now there's like 3. This is the unofficial one. Hey, good evening, folks. Cinephile Sanity. Sean is in the house. What's going on, Sean? Hope all is well with y'all. Everyone's saying hi to one another in the chat. So before we get underway with the J-horror goodness, I did happen to get a package in the mail today from none other than Fright Rags. And I figured, why the hell not do like a live unpackaging, unboxing, to something to tide you over. And it's nothing Creepshow related, but it is George A. Romero related, as I believe this is the Dawn of the Dead t-shirt set that I got. Now, I spent a shit ton of money and I regret it, and it's crazy how much it was, but to be honest, I just honestly couldn't pass on this. So let me unravel the box here. Oh, fuck. To put this to the side. Do we got anything else? It feels like nothing else in the box. All right, so I guess we could show these off a little bit. Now, first up, we have the newly designed t-shirt, which I actually really quite like this, and I might be rocking it tomorrow, of the OG Dawn of the Dead here. Give you guys a better look. Yeah, OG Dawn of the Dead. Of course, you got Roger at the top, then Peter, Flyboy, Fran, the zombies in the mall. Love this. It doesn't. I don't know why the light is a little bit weird, but it's a little bit like purple. The people are, and then of course you have the sun, which is that bright, yellowish orange. Even got the W-Gon copter in there, and then George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. So yeah, I had to get a t-shirt of my favorite movie. I feel like the shirt looks so big. I only got, it's an XL, but it looks like it could fit a fucking like 700-pound man. So hopefully, if I ever outgrow into a 700-pound man, that this will fit me. I don't know. We'll see that then. They also did this, which I thought was cool, just because this is what the crew actually wore on the set of Dawn of the Dead. It's in that vein, and it's even in that material, where it was a Dawn of the Dead crew shirt, which I thought was really cool. This was if you were on the crew of Dawn of the Dead. This is the exact same design that they wore. There's that famous picture of the entire cast and crew at the mall with George, Galen, David Emge, and of course Ken Foray, Scott Reiniger, where they're wearing these shirts. And then on the back it says, "When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth." And I don't know. I always thought this was a really cool design. I was so stoked when they were bringing this back out. I was like, dude, I have to dip on that. That's just something I had to dip on. So very excited to have this in the collection as well, because I did have one that was this design, but it was red. And man, when I met George, I wore that, and it's just so deteriorated and destroyed at this point that unfortunately there will be really no wearing that shirt anymore. I can't throw it away just because I met George Romero in it, so it's like I got to keep that shirt, but it's pretty much disheveled to shit. And also, where's my trading card buffs at? Because yeah, that's right. We got the trading cards as well, and I love this. These are packaged very uniquely. I may need a knife to get these open. I don't know, but I'm gonna attempt to rip it open with my bare hands, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we got it. No problem. These are Dawn of the Dead trading cards, which I thought was super cool that they did these. Of course, I did pick up the Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 ones. These ones are a little bit differently packaged. They're House of Fright wax packs, as you can see here. Wax packs. Oh, yeah. Full color picture cards, special stickers inside, includes prismatic sticker for the greatest movie ever made, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. So I was like, dude, I had to get this too. I don't know. Maybe I do an unboxing video of this at some point. I don't want to just, if people want to see them, they can. I mean, I don't have a problem going a little bit longer here tonight. But I do want to get into the movies and stuff like that. So I guess we will. But yeah, pretty cool. So we got the Dawn of the Dead trading cards, which I will totally wax packs, whatever you want to call them, that I'll be opening over later. I think there's 70 cards in here. And then, of course, I guess I'll show these off one more time. The OG crew shirt of Dawn of the Dead, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, but not leastly, the new design of Dawn of the Dead, which I thought was, I don't know, very, very cool. I spent a shit, all this stuff you would not imagine. And it's just three things. You think, oh, what was all that together? 50, 60 bucks, over $100 for the shit. So, I'm a mark for Dawn of the Dead because I wouldn't pay that for any other fucking movie that was ever been made. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, I don't know. I just wanted to add to the collection and always love collecting, horror merch and shit like that. And it's my favorite movie of all time. So I couldn't really pass up on that. We got OG Dawn of the Dead. Awesome. Thank you. Hell yeah, brother. I'm rocking a Kenny Omega shirt, bro. Oh, hell yeah, Kenny. Hell yeah. Nice. Thank you so much. What makes Dawn of the Dead so amazing is that first when the term shopping mall became famous in America. That's very true. Slasher Fred, welcome to the house. We got Texas THC here. Hello, everyone. Hola, Grande. Hola, Texas. Hope all is well with you. Texas, I think, just got his Grande's Graveyard t-shirt, so that's pretty cool. I think I owe a couple of people, but other than that, I think we're pretty much done with the Grande's Graveyard t-shirt sales, which is pretty cool. So I want to thank everybody that, got one of those and stuff. Very cool stuff indeed. But we've lingered, and tonight it's time to get back into some J-horror, ladies and gentlemen. Now, last time on the J-horror show, we covered The Suicide Club, which actually uploaded in a separate review that's doing pretty well. And then, of course, I also covered the Tokyo Gore Police. Whereas tonight, instead of, 2 individual or 3 individual separate Japanese horror movies, I decided to focus on this one trilogy of One Missed Call. Now, One Missed Call came around the time of towards the end of the J-horror boom. I mean, of course, Ring is the movie that really started that in like 1998, Hideo Nakata's film. And I've done episodes on Ring. I've done episodes on Ju-on, which was, those were the 2 big ones. But then, of course, you had movies like Pulse. You had movies like Dark Water. You had, all these up and coming Japanese filmmakers that were throwing their hands in the hat and kind of giving their effort. And what exactly is J-horror? Where exactly does that term come from? I think the J-horror term is mainly what us here in the States call Japanese horror. And it's generally focused more upon ghost stories. There has to be some sort of an antagonist that is a ghost. Hence your Sadako Namamuras of the world, your Kayako Saekis of the world. And that's really the kind of beauty and the reason why they're called J-horror. Now, of course, these are no exception. These movies are no exception. There is an antagonist that's very wannabe them. The first movie is a very much Ring ripoff, and we'll get into that. But I'm very excited to discuss these movies. So, yeah, no, I'm very excited here tonight. This movie feels like an episode of The Twilight Zone. Definitely feels like sort of an episode of The Twilight Zone. I totally get that vibe, too. I did and love it. Thank you so much. Okay, awesome, man. I'm happy you like that because it took me for a hell and ever to ship them out. So thank you for your patience. I guess without further ado, we can get underway with this show and give you a brief plot synopsis. Anybody else hear that? What the hell? Oh, no. Oh boy. Hello. Oh no! Oh, all right. Well, I just heard my future self telling me that my dumbass is gonna die. So there you go. That is my little joke. And please don't copyright strike me for playing the ringtone, the creepy ringtone for 10 seconds. Please don't copyright take down my whole fucking show. Um, but yeah, that was the whole idea and kind of joke and nod to these trilogy of movies where they were using these old school things, the flip phone. Yeah, my dad still has one of these. So I was like, let me pull out this novelty of 20 plus years ago and what was going on with technology at the time. Um, but yeah, without that little joke, sorry if that fell flat, it fell flat. But without further ado, let's dive into the brief plot synopsis of the first movie. After people start receiving voicemail messages from their future selves in the form of the sound of them reacting to their very own violent deaths, along with the exact date and time of their future deaths, Yumi and Detective Hiroshi race against time to unravel the mystery behind the mysterious calls to save their lives. They soon learn, however, that you cannot put death on hold. Yes, this is a film from, of course, legendary Japanese filmmaker Takashi Miike. This is One Missed Call. Yes, One Missed Call from the year 2003. Of course, I have like I said, the Arrow trilogy here. And I don't know why they put the first film just like they put it in the corner, man. Nobody puts One Missed Call in the corner. But yeah, no, I thought that was quite funny. But this was, like I was saying, a very interesting J horror movie because it came around the time where it was kind of peaking. Like when you got to the time of this, the Japanese remakes in America were coming out. Like I mentioned before, Ring, Pulse, Dark Water, Ju-on. All of these movies were either being remade in the States or about to be remade in the States. Of course, Gore Verbinski's The Ring had come out, set the world on fire in America, was a huge monster hit. And then they started remaking all of these J horror movies in America to try to capitalize on the success that was going on in Japan. And this was either the kickoff of the second wave or the end of the very end. I look at these movies as the very end of the first wave. These were like the end of the J horror boom, this type of movie. Of course, it was adapted based on a story by Yasushi Akamoto. And Yasushi Akamoto, basically, if you don't know who that is, he was more of a lyricist / producer, writer. He was a pro wrestling guy. Like, he was involved in the pro wrestling business as women's pro wrestling, to be specific. So he had his fingers in a lot of different things. And he had the idea of, hey, look at these J horror movies. They are absolutely booming right now. Let's try to make our Sadako. Let's try to make our Kayako. And of course, we get One Missed Call, where, of course, they have the whole premise and idea of Yumi, the lead character here, who is played by the voluptuous Ko Shibasaki. I'm sorry, Ko Shibasaki. I'm sorry. My Japanese not the greatest, but you might remember Ko from a little movie called Battle Royale. She plays the lead heel woman in that, and she's our lead protagonist in this. So it's cool to see her in a role where she's not evil, I guess, but I do think she's a pretty lady, and I thought she did a really good job in this movie and that movie. You have her and her friend, who's a detective, Hiroshi, who his sister has fallen death of this curse. And basically, the movie opens where these friends are, kind of talking around this table, and they're talking about this, this and that and the other. And one of them gets the mysterious ringtone where I just played before, that creepy ringtone. Do, 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 do. And if you hear that, you get the one missed call. You can listen to the message left, and all they hear is themselves dying in the future, their own impending deaths. And then, of course, one by one, they're picked off in these fun kind of creative ways where one girl is kind of pushed in front of a train. One guy's grabbed down an elevator shaft. You have all these kind of fun J-horror type of deaths and J-horror type characters. This is unashamedly a Ring ripoff. There's no doubt about it. Using technophobia, Ring said, hey, we'll use a tape that you watch. This movie said, hold my beer. We'll call you on the fucking phone, and we'll send you a voicemail of the day you're going to die and time. And then, of course, the characters, we're trying to prevent this. We're trying to stop this. What's going on? And, of course, we start to unravel the mystery around these deaths, because each death in particular has this interesting thing where after the person dies, their severed limbs will go on to call somebody else on their contact list. And also the kicker, the cherry on top, if you will, is a suite of its own. A red jawbreaker kind of rolls out of their mouths. Weird, very mysterious. I liked the setup. I thought while it's unshamedly, like I say, ripping off Ring, I had fun with the setup. I thought it was a clever enough setup here. Of course, you bring in a Takashi Miike, who, if you're a fan of any kind of Japanese cinema or just cinema alone, you know and love Takashi Miike. I mean, of course, Audition will forever be his most infamous movie. The first I ever saw was his segment in a little movie called Three Extremes, which came out, I believe, the following year, called Box. Takashi Miike's Box, which was incredible. Of course, the Masters of Horror imprint episode at Showtime had prevented that from airing in the United States. That gave him a name here. Just so many wonderful movies. Gozu. Really, really enjoy Takashi Miike's work. And he's the guy that was such an interesting call here, because here's a guy that's established. Here's a guy that has made a name for himself. And to bring him into a movie like this, where normally this would just be a very studio production that is just trying to milk and take advantage of the cash cow that is the big Japanese horror, phenomenon. And it was big. I mean, Ring and Ju-on, all these movies, that was the Japanese's kind of version of what Scream was here. Like, Scream had, okay, we'll do Urban Legend, we'll do Valentine, we'll do I Know What You Did Last Summer. And in turn, that's really what the Japanese horror boom was in Japan. We get these movies instead. And bringing somebody like Takashi Miike, I thought, was the smartest thing they could have done, because here's somebody that has made over 100 films in his career. He knows what the fuck he's doing. He knows how to direct a scare sequence. He knows how to really turn up the volume in a film. You know that if you've seen Takashi Miike cinema, it can really be dialed up to the highest of degree. There's no real limit to as far as Takashi can go. And that's why I always love Takashi Miike. I think he's just such a DIY filmmaker, a filmmaker that has just inspired me. And I thought he was the perfect choice to do this, because otherwise, if you didn't have that style and that direction and that, flavor, I guess, I don't know if this movie would have been remembered, and I don't know if it would have been the big horror hit that it was, because it grossed almost 10 times its budget. It had a budget of $1.7 million, grossed nearly $17 million in Japan, and it was a gigantic hit. And then, of course, spawned the two sequels that come after, and then, of course, an American remake of its own, which I believe was the last of the big Japanese horror remakes in America, the One Missed Call remake, which I have never heard a good word about. I've not seen the movie. I do know it stars Shannon Sossamon, so that's always a good reason to watch a movie, because that's a beautiful lady. But I've never watched the One Missed Call remake. I'm staying far away. It's just one of those, it's like you just almost know it's bad before going into it. Let's go back to comments, because we have quite a few, I see. Let me scroll back up here. Where were we? I think we were. Oh no, it's coming to get you. Absolutely. Hey, what's up, Grande's Graveyard fam? That intro was awesome. Never seen these though. So curious to hear about them. Oh, awesome, Mernsy. Awesome having you in the house. We had Mernsy on last week, of course. Mernsy, the Japanese versions are all currently on Tubi. Yes, they're all free on Tubi if you don't want to splurge on the. Arrow did a big sale, so I had to get on this, and I got some other titles. There was also a movie called Dark Water, in which was originally a Japanese horror movie. Of course, they remade it with good old Jennifer Connelly, another beautiful American lady. The 80s had tons of phone horror movies. He Knows You're Alone, When a Stranger Calls, Eyes of a Stranger, Dressed to Kill. Absolutely. But I dare to say that the technophobia thing was just so big with Japanese horror at this time. Like, it was just another, it was like, wow, all right, how can we expand upon this? We won't do a videotape. We'll do a cell phone, and flip phones in this situation. So I thought that was kind of clever. VV, Villainous Vixen's in the house. Hey, everyone. What's going on, Villainous Vixen? Hope all is well. Actually, When a Stranger Calls came out in 79. Okay. Ichi the Killer, Miike Gold. Of course. You throw a rock, you'll hit a great Takashi Miike film. I just love Takashi Miike. Miike really turned it up in imprint. Oh, my God. And I know that Will and Jeff, they did like a Miike, I think it was like brackets where they had every week people vote on Miike film versus Miike film. That was so much fun when they were doing that. And then they did like an overall stream on it, which I thought was a lot of fun. So welcome, Jeff. Hope all's well with you. And yes, imprint is quite crazy. I have that on DVD somewhere over there. That is one of my favorite episodes of that show, Masters of Horror. Just absolutely love that. I want a wrench someday. Oh, sure. Can I do it here? I could do it after the fact for sure, no doubt. Villainous Vixen. Joe Mama, yo, what's going on, Joe Mama? Hope all is well with you. But delving a little bit into this plot and the horror of this movie, the characters are fine. I think Miike's direction is good. It's a very suspenseful film. It has an interesting kind of look. This color of green, which I have down below, as the banner, and then of course it's very prominent on the American version of the poster here. That's a big kind of color in the movie, is this green. And I thought Miike did an okay job with the death sequences. They're kind of fun, over the top. There's a really fun scene where, to me, was Miike at his best, where this one girl, she gets cursed, and this TV crew is like, hey, we can save you. We can help you. Just come with us. And they have this girl come with them to this big TV studio. And their idea is, yeah, this girl's probably going to die. We'll lie to her, tell her we're going to save her. And then when she's on live television, we'll have it all filmed to air it and broadcast it to the world. Everyone will be watching our show. So again, more technical, like that is so what they were even doing here. Like, we're shamelessly just trying to get you to come to the theater to see these people die, via technology. And then here's the movie almost being like very self-aware and meta in that. Like, yeah, here, you're our audience. Watch this lady die. We know she's going to die. But I thought the direction by Miike was really smart here, because instead of the missed call and the missed, I hear myself and myself just told me I'm going to die, she gets a picture of this creepy little ghost girl and her arm kind of peeking around the corner, and she sees it. And every time she opens up the message, the ghost girl gets closer and closer and closer. I loved how they built that tension. I thought that was Miike 101. They build that tension to the crescendo of the TV show going live, right? They're going to do this exorcism, which goes horribly wrong. And one guy gets like force pushed like 30 yards backwards, which I thought was fucking hysterical and I didn't see coming. Our lead, Yumi, she gets in there not in the nick of time. She's like, stop. And this woman, just her whole body just contorts, and she gets kind of ripped in part like a pretzel or something. And it's just crazy. As I love, and I did with the thumbnail, is this Yumi backs away, and we have this interesting kind of use of lighting of blue on one side, red on the other, as she's watching her friend literally be ripped apart limb from limb and having all of her bones break and shit like that. I thought that was incredible. I was like, that whole sequence of, the girl being killed on live national television, I was like, this is Miike 101, and this is also J-Horror 101. It's the best of these two worlds coming together here to kind of crescendo that death. I thought that was awesome. Now, it's not a perfect film. I think it's far from a perfect film. I like the movie. It's the best of the three. But where it really kind of wears a little bit thin is the third act. And what do I mean by that? Basically, we are introduced to a kind of legend where, the people that were surrounding these deaths, of course, Hiroshi, his sister, was involved in one of the deaths where she burned to death in this hospital. A lot of these, mysterious, like, subplots come to light, and of course our protagonists find out that there was this family, this mother Marie and her daughter Mimiko and her other daughter, they were right in the center of this mystery and right in the center of what was going on. And basically what's believed and told to you about the midway point of the film is that Marie, she is behind this because she would abuse her child and children. And, she suffered from Munchausen syndrome. They go into all this stuff that Marie is the killer. And we're led to believe that for a big chunk of the movie. And that's where I'm like, okay, because spoiler alert, she's not the killer. They have a big twist of who the killer is, but that's where they introduced the whole idea of horror of this movie. And I think the real big theme of the series, which is abuse in horror, the horrors of abuse. And that's why I think One Missed Call is kind of brilliant. Here's a movie that's tackling, like I said, all the Japanese horror booms of that time and all those cliches, but at the same time having that big focus on abuse. Here was this family where we're led to believe, again, where one of the two daughters was brutally beaten up daily, day in, day out. And then, of course, Yumi, on the other hand, we get these kind of PTSD flashbacks of her own mother kind of hitting her and stuff like that. So we have that parallel between, the lead protagonist, she has a history of being abused. And then, of course, the antagonist was an abuser. At least that's what they're telling you. We have this crazy kind of finale in an abandoned hospital. which Miike does a good job at directing. I thought it was fun. You have this very fun crescendo where the phone is doing a countdown. She gets a text, you will die in 59, 58, 57. It's counting down her death, and Hiroshi's trying to do all he can to prevent it. Of course, he does find the body of Marie. He grabs the phone out of it because it's leading all to, oh my God, is this, where the curse is stemming from? He yells for it to stop, and it does. And then Marie kind of rises from the grave. And an interesting effect where like the skin is peeling off, the eyes are bloodshot red, and she has this moment with Yumi, and the two of them embrace, and she sort of sees her past dead abusing mother in this ghost. And she has this kind of reconciliation moment. Mom, I love you. I'm sorry I left you. I forgive you. I forgive you. And you have that kind of nice scene. I thought, I mean, if your parent abused you that bad, I don't know if you'd welcome in with open arms to try to get them to not kill you. Like, she kind of takes the very passive route, like the, not fight but flight type of situation where she just kind of sits there and, oh, all right, I embrace you. I embrace you. You're my mother. Didn't really like that. And then, of course, the ghost starts crying, like Marie starts crying. And then that's really, you think, the end of the movie. And then, of course, the big spoiler alert and the big kind of, reason where I compare this character to a Sadako or a Kayako, we are told that Marie wasn't the killer. In fact, that it was Mimiko. Mimiko was the daughter of Marie. And basically what happens is you see this flashback of Mimiko, and she's cutting her little sister with a giant, like Michael Myers butcher knife, cutting the shit out of her arm. And the little sister's crying. She's hysterical crying. And she goes, shh. She goes, I'll give you one of these. And it's a red jawbreaker. And she gives it to her sister. And that's her compensation. If you let me torture you and cut you and beat you and all these things, I'll give you this little red jawbreaker. Fair compromise, no? But basically she gives the little, thing. And then Marie walks in one day while she's cutting her and finds her red-handed. And it's, oh my God, you bitch. You're a monster. You're evil. She grabs the youngest child away and pushes Mimiko down, and then Mimiko has this kind of asthma attack and dies, and thus the curse is born. And what the calls are, what the one missed calls are actually warnings from Marie. My daughter is coming to kill you. Her, Onryo is coming to kill you, and you have to get out. That's why they're not really, calls to say, oh, I'm malicious, I'm evil, you're going to die. They're warnings. And that I thought was quite smart. I thought the whole kind of twist, once it happened, was really smart. Now, I don't know if you really needed it to be a twist. Like, you could have just said halfway through, yeah, it's Mimiko. And I think you could have expanded on that character. You could have added some things. We could have really got to know the backstory in a similar way to the character it's trying to rip off in Sadako Yamamura. Let me know more about Sadako. What was her past? What was going on? And that we do get that in the Ring movies. We don't really get that with Mimiko. It's really so short that you're like, oh, like it's kind of just a twist in there. And I really think that was their biggest mistake. It should have been, we find out it's Mimiko about halfway through, because during some of these deaths, you'll hear an inhaler. And Miike makes sure they linger on that inhaler sound, the sound an inhaler makes. He really, really focuses on that. And you're like, okay, obviously this is going to play a factor. And it's foreshadowing that she wasn't given her inhaler when she was having that asthma attack, thus died. And, the rageful spirit birthed the curse. And that's how, all these people start dying off one by one. And I thought that aspect of it, the idea of it, was really smart. Because again, here you have a different type of J-horror villain, because like I said, with Kayako Saeki, didn't really deserve to die. Did she fall in love with another man? Absolutely. But did she deserve to have her fucking, son and cat and herself all brutally murdered and drowned and all these things? No, definitely not. Sadako Yamamura, different scenario. I think in the first Ring, it's very much more implied that she's like a black scale level villain. But Mimiko is the darkest of scale level villains. There's no gray area here. Whereas I think a villain like this works better in the gray. I think it works better in a gray area. What do I mean by that? Now, of course, have you seen the short movie that I did, Down by the Bay? I think in a lot of ways it's a partial love letter to Japanese horror. I really do. I think The Woman in Yellow is very similar to a Kayako Saeki, Sadako Yamamura, Mimiko. Very similar. in the way that I presented it as like it's a grayscale villain where she is a villain, but she died undeservedly. She was just out for a nature walk. She was just out for a hike to enjoy the day and died. And thus all of these smart teenagers think they know better. And oh, I'll go into the woods. I'm not scared of the bay. I'm not scared of seeing the sun. It's that dismissiveness that thus births that curse and that rage. What do you know about my death? What do you know about what I went through in my life? You think it's a joke? I'll show you how fucking funny it is, bitch. And that's thus what the payoff of Down by the Bay was. This character, though, and very much different, like I said, from its contemporary, Sadakos and Kayakos of the world. I think they went too dark scale. Like you're cutting your little sister with a fucking giant butcher's knife. Like there's no gray scale. You're a wacky, crazy fucking bitch. There's nothing that you could like argue. I've seen people say that she's tragic, she's sympathetic. No, you are fucking slicing up your like 4-year-old sister and telling her, shh, we'll take you to the hospital. Just shut up and eat this candy. Don't you tell mom a damn thing. That's evil. Like evil in all fucking cap letters. Evil. That's just, I think hurt it. I really do, because I like these type of villains to have that grayscale area. I guess maybe overall I like grayscale villains. If you like black, dark scale villains, this is your movie. This is your villain for sure. There's no doubt about it. Like I personally, I always say Doc Ock. I always loved the Spider-Man 2 Doc Ock, where, yeah, he was this evil guy that killed people and stuff, but he had a dream. He had a wife that loved him. He just wanted to live his dream. And that is what's so sad about that character. It was all taken away with him within a matter of moments. The love of his life, the dream of his life period was just robbed of him, and all he had left was crime. All he had left was a dark side. I like villains like that. This, though, was weak in that department, and it really didn't give you much because it was so hell-bent on twisting. It's Marie, it's Marie, it's Marie. Oh, no, it's actually Mimiko, to the point where it hurt Mimiko as a villain. I thought we could have gotten more backstory. Not too much. You don't ever want to overexpose, and there's a fine line between that. There's a happy medium there. But I think they could have expanded on that character a little bit. I don't know. That was a little bit of an issue. And then the final scene, which I thought was like kind of weird. All of a sudden now, Mimiko can possess you. So she possesses Yumi. Hiroshi comes to the apartment, and then Yumi stabs him as she's being possessed by Mimiko, and he wakes up in a hospital bed, and she like French tongue gives him the fucking jawbreaker. And you get the idea that he's the new little sister, and she's going to live on in this Yumi body, as we fade to a shot of the sky, and then we end the movie. A weird way to end this movie, because we didn't mention anything about possession before. Again, just felt like a twist just for twist's sake. Didn't really work. I think the ending of this movie just didn't quite stick the landing. Now, the technical is great. The scares are great. Some of the death scenes, not all of them. The elevator one is not the greatest. Some of the death scenes, though, Miike at his finest. I love Takashi Miike, and you could see that this is a movie that he really had a big influence on. If this had just been another studio body that they threw in there, you absolutely would have saw the technical flaws in this thing, and it would not have worked. The horror in your horror movie would not have worked, because a guy like Takashi Miike is a master and expert as fucking filmmaking. Let's just be honest. He is. He's the man. Love Takashi Miike. One of the best filmmakers ever, in my opinion. And I know there's a lot of people that think that he took this as, let me make my movie and it's a parody. I know there's a lot of speculation that people think that he did this to kind of middle finger and flip off the Japanese horror movement. I don't think that at all. And I watched the special features in this and interviews with Miike and interviews with Shibasaki. Sorry, that name is just, for some reason, there's one extra syllable in there that just fucks me up. Ko Shibasaki. They were both talking about how they really wanted the horrors of abuse to be the main focal point of this. Now, it's presented and window dressed like the Japanese horror movies that were coming out before and scarcely after it. It's window dressed that way. It's a fucking Japanese horror. It gets her out. It's in skimpy clothes. It's presented as one thing. And we do get brief moments of those things, those cliched tropes. They're there, but Miike elevates it to a different level with the technical. And I think that's what saved this movie. I really think that's what saved this movie. Now, kind of a poor finale. I think it's more on the writer than it is on Mickey, but overall, I really quite like One Missed Call. I think it's the best of the three. There's no doubt about that. I think it's worth your time. It's worth a watch. The first two thirds are much better than the destination. I would have liked a little bit more Mimiko. I would have liked it to just escape that twist entirely and just halfway through the film, all right, we find out about Mimiko. Let's figure out the mystery from here. No, like we don't really get that. It's just side gotcha. It's Mimiko. End credits. I don't know. Just I wanted a little bit more, just a little bit more. But definitely a positive movie in my opinion. I would give it like a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's solid enough. It's definitely worth your time. But let me get back to the comments. Let me dive back in. Let's see what y'all have to say. I think. Oh wow, where were we? I think we were here. Yeah, I think this might have been a me problem. I just didn't get it. I think it's because I haven't seen a lot of J horror. I just didn't get it. Sorry. No worry. Hey, you didn't get it. You didn't get it. No problem at all. There was also a classic radio play called Sorry Wrong Number about a woman who accidentally overhears a murder being plotted over the phone. That's pretty cool. Sorry Wrong Number 1948. Look at these guys going back and forth with the information. Is the beginning of the scary phone call we did the radio play in junior high. Wow, look at you guys. This is cool. Originally radio play synth had starred Agnes Moorehead. Okay. We got Ghostface Brett in the house. What up? What's up, Ghostface Brett? What's going on, good brother? You guys talking to each other? Cool sense. Okay, we got Alpha in the house. Grande. Alpha, man. Hey, I got to show this off because it's the biggest Dawn of the Dead mark that I know because I got these in the mail today. Oh, yeah. The Dawn of the Dead wax packs. And then, of course, we got the new shirt here from Fright Gags here. That new design. Really purpley. Kind of cool. And then, of course, the OG crew shirt, which I know you'll recognize this. The OG Dawn of the Dead crew shirt, which is really cool. Yeah, they wore that in that classic photo. I unboxed these at the beginning of it because it came in the mail today. I was like, dude, what are the odds that it would come on Graveyard Day? So I thought that was kind of cool. Let's see. Had no idea they were this wild and gory. That's the thing. I don't know if they really are that gory. Like this one. This one's probably the most. People will tell you the last one's the most graphic. I think this one's the most graphic based on what you see. Like you'll see severed hands calling numbers and shit like that. The second movie I felt was very cut away, and then the third movie, the deaths are just so over the top that you kind of laugh at them. I don't know. It's definitely these sequels will get interesting. I'll tell you that much. There was a 1977 movie called The Sitter, which was a short movie which later became When a Stranger Calls. Okay, people saying hi to one another. Very cool. Yeah, no. So the original One Missed Call is one that I would recommend. Now getting to one that I unfortunately would not recommend is the sequel. And easily the weakest of these movies. I mean, by a mile, the weakest of the three was the second movie, which is not called Two Missed Calls, which I thought would have been funny. It is just simply called One Missed Call 2, which we have it up right there. I could do the screen share as well. Let me take this down and then present the screen share here of One Missed Call 2. And then a brief plot synopsis, which I had to write. That's how shitty and messy this movie is. Yes, here's One Missed Call 2. There's the poster, which again looks like a neo-slasher poster, but in Japan. That's basically what it looks like. But brief plot synopsis that I wrote. When her sister falls prey to the deadly cell phone curse, journalist Takako travels to Taiwan with an endangered girl, Kayako, to find the origin of the curse that befell the characters in the previous entry. Yes, One Missed Call 2. This was fucking horrible movie, in my opinion. Of course, they bring in a different director, Renpei Sakamoto. They bring him in, and now the reason they gave him the job was he made a short 4-minute film parodying the original One Missed Call. He did a short parodying it, and it blew up. It became viral here, became viral in Japan, and they called him. They said, "Hey, you did a joke pretty good. Let's see what you can do with the actual sequel. We'll give you the job." And that's how it happened. They called him. They gave him the job. This was, of course, Toho and Katakawa. They were involved in the production of these movies. Of course, Toho needs no information. Katakawa is a little bit more obscure, but again, they had their fingers in all of these movies. They bring this guy in. They give him the job. He had mostly done TV before and after this and some short films. This is like his biggest known for movie, I guess. And I will say, we'll start off with the positives because there's not much. From a technical level, this movie's not terrible. Cinematography's there. I actually don't think the scares were that bad in this movie. I think it has a step up on the third movie on the scares factor and tension and building tension at that. I thought this movie did an okay job with it. It's a step down from Mike. There's no way you're going to step up from Mike, but it's not the worst step down in the world in the scare department. It's a very vibrant film. It's a very colorful film. I think they have some interesting shots of like a razzle red, ruby red cell phone. It just pops off the screen in the HD. And you have a lot, again, uses of green, that vibrant white green, and how some other colors kind of contrast off that. It's a good looking movie. It's definitely appealing to the eye. I liked the picture. And the cinematography, like I said, there's some interesting sequences, interesting shots, good scare sequences. That's where the positives really end, though. Because this movie I found to be a mess. Basically, what this movie tries to do is let's move away from Mimiko as the villain. I don't know why. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was, because it is, funny enough, based on the same writer as the first movie. Now, like I was saying, that it was the novel by Yasushi Yakamoto, and then of course the screenplay of all three of these movies was Minako Daria. She wrote the screenplays for all three of these movies. This screenplay is really weak, and the story is really weak. It's the weakest of the movie story-wise. I just don't care about hardly any of the characters or any of the things that's going on in this movie, because basically what they try to do is, okay, the end of the first movie ends in this jumbled mess. Let's try to forget Mimiko and say that some other giant cursed Japanese girl cursed her. So they immediately are trying to be like, it's not Mimiko this time. Although they do have these little hints that she's still pulling some strings behind the scenes somewhere, but it's not Mimiko's film. It's very much Lily's film. And who the fuck is Lily, you might ask? That's exactly what I was asking myself for a fucking hour, 47 minutes of this piece of shit movie. Who in the fuck is Lily? What happens is we have this kindergarten teacher and these two friends of hers. They're in a restaurant, very similar to the first film. And in this movie, we have, whoa, what? You ready for this curveball, motherfucker? You're going to hit it 555 feet down the fucking San Francisco Bay. You ready for this curveball? If the phone rings and it's my fucking phone, and let's say somebody in the fucking comments picks it up. Let's say fucking who's in our comments here? I had the private chat up. Let's say fucking Hearst Hill picks up the phone and he says, "Hey, Grande can't get to the phone right now. Sorry." And it's the one missed call. Hearst Hill gets the chair. Hearst Hill dies. He can hear my ass screaming, fucking screaming. And Hearst Hill, for some reason, has to take the heat and gets the death that I would have got. So now the fucking rules have changed. It's not the one missed call warning for me from Marie. Now it's a fucking, hey, bitch, answer my phone and you're going to die. What? I don't like that. It's horrible. That's horrendous. Lazy writing. Let's try to bring something new to it. Oh, I know. What if you accidentally picked up the wrong fucking phone? Yeah, you know what else? You know what my other fucking question is? What happened if you take this phone, shine it up real nice, turn that son bitch sideways, and stick it straight up your candy ass? But that would be better than what they did here. I mean, just nonsense. You have this fucking fat Japanese cook, and his daughter phone rings. And, hello? Then his fat ass dies. He gets fucking burned like a sausage, even though he hears her screaming for her life. Then she comes in, Dad, what's the matter? Bullshit. It's bullshit. That's a horrible, lazy, just terrible. I just don't, I hated that direction. Then about maybe halfway through the film, after we get some death scenes that are a little bit cut away. I mean, I felt they were very cut away compared to the first movie. They built the tension okay, but there was no payoff in the kills. We have this weird thing where, okay, now we're going to go to Taiwan and we're going to find out the real origin of this curse, because now fucking Mimiko was not behind all of this. She was cursed in her death by someone named Lily. And fucking Lily was this weird girl, and this Taiwanese girl who could wish you dead. Similar vein to the Anthony Fremont character in the Twilight Zone. Anyone seen It's a Good Life, the episode? They remade it in the Twilight Zone movie where the little kid, he points at you, he can wish you to the cornfield. He can basically wish death upon you by just thinking about you. That's basically what Lily is. She can think about you. She's getting picked on, abused, and thus starts, you'll die, you'll die, you'll die. And then, of course, the town rebelled. They sewed her mouth shut. They dumped her in a coal mine somewhere and left her for dead. And thus, that's how the whole curse started. Even fucking though, she's never mentioned in the first movie. And yeah, this is right. She is never mentioned in the third movie. It is a total 1-4. You never hear of Lily before this. You never hear of Lily after this. So to me, this movie is fucking pointless. There was no fucking reason to try to erase Mimiko and say, oh, you know what? She was really Robin. Here's Batman. Fuck you and your mother and your fucking couch and the horse you fucking rode in onto town in. This is a bunch of nonsense. Horrible. You're fucking Taiwan. Let's go to Taiwan and take a Japanese horror movie out of Japan. I saw reviews where people were like, oh, this is a welcome. Oh, cool. We're in Taiwan. Really? Like, I don't know. And then by the third movie, we're in fucking Korea. It's funny. There's 4 One Missed Call movies, and only one of them is all entirely in Japan. The first movie is the only one that takes place in Japan entirely. This movie is half in Taiwan, and this movie is in fucking Korea, and then the remake is in fucking the United States of America. So I don't know. I don't understand why they just wanted to take the J horror out of J. I don't understand, but it is neither here nor there because Lily says so, motherfucker. They try to make us care about the couple. They really try to make us care. I care more about a fucking ant on a rug. I care more about the fucking paint on the wall than I did this couple. They had no chemistry. They might as well have been fucking bitter enemies because they sucked as best friends. They sucked as a couple. They did. I didn't care. And their whole arc is, she's cursed and she has a clock. She's going to die in X amount of time. And the phone rings one more time. And, oh, spoiler alert, the boyfriend answers it to save her for the love. Fuck you. This is nonsense. That whole fucking thing, that whole rule changing thing of I answer your phone, I die, was only used so that character could save his girlfriend. Almost 2-hour movie to get to that point. I'm sorry. You fell flatter than A-cup yets. You did. And it stinks. I smell it from here. I smell it all the way from fucking United States of America, from fucking Taiwan. I fucking still smell it. And this movie came out 19 years ago in 2005. And then the A plot is Kyoko, not Kayako, Kyoko, and basically she is, how do I explain this? She was an abuse victim herself. So you do keep, at least they kept the theme of the horrors of abuse of the first movie, even though they changed everything else for the worse. That theme is still here. Okay, bravo to that. You did one fucking thing right. I'll give you a golf clap. That theme is still here because she and her sister were abused by their father, although her sister was far less abused than Kyoko. Thus, Kyoko very much envied her sister, and you get flashbacks of them as a little kid dressed like the 2 girls from fucking Shining in these matching dresses. And they every day receive a phone call, and that's how the whole phone call thing came to be. Was when they were kids, they would get phone calls from their dad. And one day she answers the phone and makes her sister take it. And thus her sister dies and she feels guilty about that forever. Really lame. I thought that was lame. I did. I thought the whole thing was fucking lame. And then you have this entire botched finale in a coal mine where nothing seems to make sense. And they start trying to retcon the first movie. You get this detective. Oh, Yumi from the first movie wasn't possessed at all. It wasn't Mimiko. She just went crazy. What? What are you talking about? She did fucking get possessed. It clearly told you. Like, and then, oh, twist again. Mimiko somehow was involved. And Mimiko is still sort of there because the last death of the movie, you have the jawbreaker falls out of the woman's mouth. Okay, haha. No. It's trying to retcon one villain and replace it with a far more generic one. And I didn't like that. It's very forced. She just came out of the womb wishing people dead. They sewed her mouth shut and threw her in a coal mine. The victims in this movie won't spit out red jawbreakers. We'll find fucking coal dust in their stomachs. That's a horrible origin for a villain. Like, what? Jesus, man. It just, like, why? I don't understand why at all. I just thought the writing here was just so fucking poor. And funny enough, for One Missed Call 3, they do bring in another writer named Jiro Shin, who never ever worked again. But you will see a difference because One Missed Call Final or One Missed Call 3 is actually far better written than this movie. And I would even say the first movie. The third movie is a horse of a different color in a good way, I think. But yeah, One Missed Call 2, man, just doesn't hit at all for me. I thought it was a mess. I thought it was a slog to get through. Like I said, it does have some positives. It's a pretty looking movie at times. Some of the direction, it was really, I could tell this guy was trying. You could get the idea that this was the big chance for him to really put his name on the map. Like, we're going from Mickey to me. I've got to impress. In a similar way to Jaws and Jaws 2, how we got Steven Spielberg. Does anybody remember who directed the second Jaws? Jeanette Swar, who that was his big chance to really make himself an established director. And he's not. He's just not a good, great director. He's not. He's average at best. He's not one of the better directors out there. There were plenty of better filmmakers you could have got to do that movie. And on the other hand, same scenario with this movie. You could have gotten some better fucking talent here. But I don't really rest all on him. I think my main issues with this movie are the story. I think the writing is just dreadful. I really do. I don't care about Lily. I don't care about Lilo. I don't care about Stitch. I don't care about your fucking pods. I don't care if you get water on them. And I don't care if they fucking come an alien, kill your ass. Disney Child kids will know. Fucking horrible. Just a terrible movie. I would not recommend it. From a technical standpoint, it does give it some points. It gives it some brownie points. It's like a 3 out of 10. It's quite bad, though. It really is. I do not enjoy this movie, One Missed Call 2. I thought this was sort of a slog and definitely the weakest of the 3 movies for sure. But let's get back to comments. Let's see what y'all got to say. We got Since saying that's the new Worried or Angst Dawn of the Dead cast shirt, and unusual choice by the artist. Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. I think both shirts are really cool. What's up, Alpha? People saying hi to Alpha. Hey, Vixen. The classic urban tales, The Babysitter and The Man Upstairs, is one of the scary stories that involves the classic harassing phone calls trope. Yeah, no doubt. And I think that's type of horror that any culture can relate to. I think that's a big thing, and why maybe these movies were so big is because anyone could relate to this. This was very simple formula. And in this particular movie, they kind of overcomplicated it a little bit. Alpha says, Hearst, what's up, buddy? Ciao Grande, what did I miss? Hi to the whole graveyard. Mateo, ciao, my friend. You missed my review of the first movie, I think, 8:45. I don't remember when I stopped reviewing the first movie, but you might have caught the tail end of it. I reviewed the first movie. I really liked it. This movie, yeah, I'm sure you caught most of the rant, Mr. Mateo. I hope all is well with you, buddy. One of the most popular texts was the car phone. Sure. Damn Grande, the final boss. Yes, if you smell what the Rock is cooking. Speaking of Japan and phones, in 87, I was able to see and use the very first portable handheld cell phone in Japan when we still had massive walkie-talkie styles or briefcase car phones in the U.S. Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Oh, boy, if I didn't get the first movie, I'd be, I think anyone would be. I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, the first 30 minutes is a lot of death scenes and exposition, and it's like, oh, it's not Mimiko, it's not Mimiko, it's not Mimiko. To the point where I was like, I get it, I get what you're saying. Move the fuck on. And they said, yeah, fuck you, Granny. We'll go to Taiwan, bitch. And I'm just like, why? What? And then they just this horrible, like, okay, here, let's to people that maybe, because I know obviously these movies are not as seen. Japanese horror is not as popular. It's an acquired taste. Let's be honest. There's not that many people in the house tonight. There probably won't be that many. Granted, the first J horror special had a lot of watches, so who knows? Specific audience, I guess. On paper, these two, give me two antagonists. The first one, right, was a crazy fucking lunatic who cut up her sister with the fucking butcher knife and told her to be quiet, gave her some candy, bribed her with that. Don't tell mom. Don't tell mom. We'll get you to the hospital. Shh. Just evil child. Just there's no fucking remorse. Just an evil, evil fucking child. Second one, oh, I came out evil and with the ability to murder people with my thoughts. Then I got fucking mad and got bullied and abused by some kid because I was fucking different kid at school. Then they tied my fucking mouth and sewed it shut, threw me in a coal mine to die, and now I'm back, bitches. Come on. I mean, everyone's got to be taking the first one. I read some reviews where people were saying that Lily is a far better villain. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you smoking? Like, I don't see that at all. Personally, I don't. I really, really don't. I don't even think it's like I can see it. I just think it's a fact that Mimiko was the more interesting character, and they really do remember that in the third movie. I think they just were like, all right, abort. Back to Mimiko. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like you wasted so much time and potential. And I think you really, the saddest thing about this movie is the career of Renpei to Sakamoto. I mean, this was his chance. And you jumble the story to this degree. That's unforgivable, man. Who knows if the story had been on point here or the story had been, fine-tuned. Who knows? Maybe he would have gotten more jobs. You might have completely altered that guy's career just based on your poor mess writing. That's a shame to me. Jose Bress's Grande rant. Yeah, I guess so. One of the most difficult things about making phone calls long ago was that before we had the contact list on our iPhones, we had to look up numbers in the phone book. Okay, Cynthia's got the old school knowledge here. Let's see. What does Alpha say? It's nice. I fucking love that OG crew shirt. Dude, I know, right? It's fucking badass. I've seen so many bad Japanese horror movies, but luckily there are some gems. Well, totally. Oh, no. Don't pick on Lilo and Stitch. No, I love Lilo and Stitch. I'm just kidding. But Lily can go fuck herself. I don't like Lily at all. One Missed Call 2 is a dud. I hate this movie. I really, really did not like it. I hated pretty much the entire thing. Just a mess. Truly a mess of a movie. There's no real other way around it. And I, when that happened, thought the worst for One Missed Call 3. I was like, most people are saying before I went into the movie, this is the worst one of the series. This is even worse than the American remake. This makes 2 look like 1. I was hearing all these things and I'm like, oh boy, I can only imagine if this is like way worse than part 2. What am I getting myself into? And I was pleasantly kind of surprised. Now, it's not a masterpiece. I don't even know if you could call the next one a good movie, but it fixed some things and it does some different things right while doing some different things wrong. But the movie I'm referring to is from 2006. This was the last of the trilogy. This is One Final Missed Call. Brief plot synopsis here. The timid young Asuka. Well, we got to, if any wrestling fans are in the house, nobody's ready for Asuka. The timid young Asuka is bullied by her classmates when they embark on a class field trip to Korea. Asuka plans revenge by sending them a cursed phone message they can either pass on or die. Yes, One Missed Call 3 Final. Although it should have probably just been called One Final Missed Call. I think that would have been smarter. But I digress. This one, of course, brings in another new director, Manabu Aso, who I don't know. I've never heard of other than this. They did bring in a side writer, Jiro Shin, who I do think is the MVP of this movie. I really do. Even though he would never go on to work again, he would never be seen again in the film world, I guess. But he helped this movie because obviously I think they realized that Misa Kuroki Minako Daria just did not know what the fuck she was doing. I really don't think she was a strong writer. Now, of course, you do have some interesting people in the cast. You have Misa Kuroki, who was like a Japanese model. Beautiful fucking lady. Absolutely gorgeous. Still is. I mean, I think she's like in her 40s now. Gorgeous lady. You have Jang Kin-suk, who people may not know in America. However, Jang Kin-suk, he was a giant Korean pop star. Giant. I mean, like as big as Justin Bieber was here, that's how big he was in not Japan, but Korea. And of course, our writer, of course, of the series, the guy that wrote the novels based on it, that was simultaneously told, Yasushi Yakamoto. He was, of course, like I said, a lyricist, a producer, a pro wrestling enthusiast guy that put a lot of his monies in a lot of different things. He was big into pop stars, and thus, I believe the only reason this movie takes place in Korea is because of this actor, because of this Korean pop star that they were just like trying to sell tickets with. Wait a minute, if he's in the movie, if Justin Bieber of Korea is in the movie, we're going to sell a lot of tickets. And it worked. This was a much higher grossing film than the second one. The second one did not do as good, although all three were pretty profitable based on what they were made for. But part three did outdo part two at the box office. So I don't know, maybe they had regretted calling it final, not making a fourth one. Cause I think in retrospect, they would have made a fourth one. I really do. And of course, America said, hold our beer, we'll make the fourth one. It didn't turn out too good. But this I thought was a big improvement from a story level. And I thought the writing here was actually pretty good. What we have is the case old tale of we're keeping the theme of bullying. I'm sorry, keeping the theme of abuse, but we're going to add bullying onto it. So Asuka is this girl who is bullied really badly. And she also has this alter name where she's called Pam, which is short for spam, which spam call. Gotcha. Very funny, very punny. They call her Asuka. They call her Pam. They call her spam, whatever the fuck they want to call her. You have her in this movie that it opens up, she's getting bullied profusely and then tries to hang herself. And she's in this really bad coma. She's like, within an inch of her life, fighting for her life. And then, of course, the calls start happening to all of these kids that are from Japan on a field trip in Korea. And in this movie, which I thought this was much smarter than the second movie where it's the whole, if I answer Grande's phone, I'm dead. No, out goes the window with that trope. This movie, I get the call, which is an email. And the email is something where I can either take or forward. And I thought you opened up a realm of possibilities of the horror that you can tackle here. That was intelligent. Okay, I get this. If I forward it to Jimmy, if I forward it to fucking whoever, now that we're all going to turn on each other. And that thus starts this big internal conflict where if we can't work together in here, we're going to lose to the Onryo out there. I loved that. I thought that was such a smart move for this movie to take. I was like, wow, that is so smart, where I get the option now to forward my phone. And of course, you can't forward a forward. So if you get forwarded to you, you're dead. There's no coming back. You get that phone forwarded email, you hear that ringtone, you are donezo. And while they take one step forward, they might take 3 steps back with the death scenes in this movie, which I couldn't believe. There is a death scene in this movie that will make the final destination look like it had good death sequences. There's this fucking guy who gets forwarded the message. He walks outside. For no reason, a fucking power cable unscrews itself, is whipping around the corner, wraps itself around this guy's neck, and he gets fried like a fucking cheeser. That's one of the deaths in this movie. You have one guy who he calls everybody a chicken, and there's a lot of alliteration and nods to chickens in a pecking order, which I thought was, again, clever writing. I'm telling you, this was all Durin. I'm telling you. The pecking order of how, chickens, and I'll get into that whole thing in the final spiel of this, but you have this guy, he's chicken. He gets forwarded a call, and he throws up chicken feathers and dies in front of everybody. You have the fucking teacher of the class decide, I'm going to just take all their cell phones, bitch. They won't know how to forward or whatever then. He takes all their fucking cell phones, and one of them forwards a call to him, and he dies in an elevator. His heart is ripped out of his body, and it's held in his hand. And there's next to no gore shown. I was like, dude, why did you went so like Sci-Fi Channel original movie with the death scenes in it. But you didn't show any fucking gore, really. I was like, damn, like, man, if this was just over the top splat stick, almost taking itself not seriously, I think this would have worked better, especially from the death scenes standpoint. Out is the technical, out is the style or tension. There's really no point in this movie where you're scared or you're on the edge of your seat. That's gone here. This director just didn't bring that. It was almost felt like an episode of TV. There wasn't many interesting shots. There wasn't great direction here. There wasn't. But the writing improved and the story improved. And I actually would say of the three, I liked the characters in this one the best. I liked the lead couple where, of course, one of them was the model I was telling you about, Misha Kuroki, and she falls in love with the Korean pop singer who doesn't have one line in this movie. He is a deaf Korean man, and she loves him. And a lot of the times they're talking, it's all sign language, and we have to read what's going on. And even that, the fact that they never share a word said verbally, they had more chemistry than the couple in part two. Even they had more chemistry than the couple in part two, and they weren't allowed to fucking speak with one another. Go figure. But again, two good-looking younger people. You got their attraction to each other. It worked. That relationship worked, I thought. And you do have an interesting thing where Pam / Asuka, nobody's ready for Asuka, is calling them on the fucking phones, kind of taunting them out like, you were a bully to me. You were a fucking fiend. You were a scoundrel. You're going to get what's coming to you. Make your decision, forward or keep the call. And we get all these kind of interesting character moments where these people have to decide, will I sell out, to save my own life? Is my wife worth someone else's? You get that kind of conflict. I thought that was smart. And then you get the whole tie-in with our lead character, with Emily in the movie, even though that's, I don't know, Emily, yeah, that was her name. It was fucking odd. Now Japanese and Emily, I don't know, I guess there are some Emilys in Japan, who knows. Emily's character, she was friends with Asuka and initially was the first one being bullied, and Asuka stood up for her, and thus all the heat turned to Asuka and she started getting bullied. And instead of helping her friend who had already helped her, Emily kind of steps back and says, oh, you know what? I'm not getting bullied or tortured anymore. Let me walk away. And thus Asuka is bullied to the breaking point of hanging herself, and trying to take her own life. I thought that was really smart. I liked the writing there. I really liked the horror in that. The horrors of bullying. Why not? Ringu Zero went there. Why not One Missed Call Final? I thought that was a smart way to go with it, especially rebounding from the mess, the slobber knocker in a bad way that was One Missed Call 2. I thought that was a smart direction to go to. And there was some really interesting back and forth dialogue. Like Asuka's telling, Emily how chickens in a pecking order work. There are the strong chickens, there are the bully chickens, there are the chickens that laugh, there are the chickens that cry, and then there's the chickens that stand by and don't do anything. And you're just as guilty as all the rest of the chickens in the coop. And I liked, as cheesy as that sounds on paper, and there are some lines where you're like, man, the delivery and the writing, geez, it wasn't the greatest. But the idea of it worked. I got what they were going for. It may have been kind of awkwardly said. It may have kind of been awkwardly written, but the message, the psychology behind it worked. And I thought that was smart. I really thought, okay, good way. And we get flashbacks of Asuka and Emily kind of hanging out together, their friendship. So you have that meshing, of the two characters, the pro and antagonist. You had that they had a former relationship. They were friends. I do feel bad for Pam, Spam / Asuka. That's, again, a grayscale villain. She's doing evil things, but we see what she went through and was tortured with. Now, your question might be, well, Grande, you had a problem with Lily. Why do you not have a problem with Asuka / Pam Spam? Because where's Mimiko in all of this? Well, the answer to that is simply this. Mimiko saw the abuse that, of course, Asuka was suffering, and thus gives her the ability after the near-death experience to kill all these kids off. And of course, the Jawbreakers are still there. So it's almost like through Mimiko, Asuka's killing off the people because she's still alive. She's not an Onryo. I thought that was a good way to use Mimiko. Okay, cool. An assist, okay, you went through abuse. Now you almost went to the afterlife, but you can use me and I'll help you kill these kids off one by one. I kind of liked that. I thought that was smart, a smart use of Mimiko, because after the second movie, there was really no going back to just Mimiko. I think they just completely shot themselves in the fucking feet. I liked that. I thought that was cool. And then you get the whole finale where Again, it's like uber green. Like it's the most green shot of the series, just a classroom of entire green shots. And Asuka's like, I'll kill myself. It'll end the curse. And of course, Emily says, no, no. And she confronts Mimiko and says, listen, I did a wrong thing. I was being bullied and I was happy that they stopped bullying me. And I admit my fault. I admit I was wrong. And I want to be a victim if I can be the final victim. I want the curse to end after this. And Mimiko accepts and hands her the jawbreaker. And it's a very emotional scene. And of course, the big twist here is, she's walking out. She accepts her impending death. She knows she's going to die. And then, of course, the boyfriend, the deaf Korean guy, he forwards the message to himself. And then he dies for her because he loved her. Again, way better than what you were trying to do with part 2. I felt it more. It's a really emotional scene of her kind of banging on the glass and screaming, no, don't do it, and he kind of dies violently in the street, but is the final victim of Mimiko / Asuka. And then, of course, we do see Asuka and Emily reconcile, and there's a scene of exposition earlier in the movie with a flashback where they talk about, hey, we want to go to the beach together. Promise me we'll go to the beach someday. And the final kind of shot of the movie is them on the beach together, and they've made their amends, they've learned their lessons, and they're friends to the end now. And Mimiko seems to have, ended the curse, begrudgingly, but ended the curse. I thought from that standpoint, a big step up. Now, the technical, the death scenes, the look of the movie, the direction of the movie is all from a technical standpoint not good. It's not. It's funny. It's the opposite of the second movie. The second movie has good technical, has good picture, has good cinematography, pops off the screen with its reds and its greens, and even blues at some points. Your primaries. This movie, it doesn't look particularly good. It's not shot particularly good. The death scenes are laughably bad. Like Sci-Fi Channel original movie bad. But they got the story right. And I will say that puts it above the second movie for me by a lot. Because the second movie's technical was not bad. It was pretty solid. It wasn't exceptional style where I can just put away. Like, it wasn't like, I guess I point to Argento. Like, look at Inferno. Like, Inferno is not a movie that makes that much sense. It is a mess story-wise, but it is so technically visually appealing that it kind of draws you in. That's what I can compare it to. If it's technical on that standpoint, I can excuse things. One Missed Call 2, it was decently technical, but just dropped the ball everywhere else and kind of threw a middle finger at your main antagonist of this series. So I didn't care for that. This, on the other hand, while it doesn't do a lot of technical things right, it had heart. It definitely had its heart in the right place. It really does end the curse. There's never been another Japanese One Missed Call. So this really is the end of the series. I know there was an American remake, but again, it wasn't like part 4. It was just a straight up, remake of the first movie that McKay had made. But I think it's a step up in the right direction. It's nothing great. It's nothing groundbreaking, but I would say it had the best pacing too. Like, it's definitely the least slow. I think it had a good pace to it. I would say it's like a 5.5 out of 10. I would say 5.5 out of 10. It's just average to a passing grade. I think it's right there, but I say it's definitely worth a watch. The first and the third movie are definitely worth a watch here, but after that, I don't know. Let's go back to comments. Let's see. I think we were here. Gotta go now. Dinner with the folks. Hear you on 516. Review Tales of the Crypt later, brother. Peace, bro. Hopefully have a good one. I know that's a different Asuka from WWE. Asuka would spit poison mist. Imagine, oh my God. Imagine Asuka from WWE playing the fucking Pam Spam Asuka character in this. That would be amazing. Nobody's ready for Asuka. How about this? What about Io Sky? Because, man, I don't know if people watched WrestleMania. I hadn't watched WrestleMania in like 6-7 years. And Io Sky was the best thing I saw WrestleMania weekend. I truly think she's one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. Like, I was astonished at the fucking match. And I hate Bayley. I call her Robbie Rotten because she looks like the fucking villain from Lazy Town, Robbie Rotten. Look up Robbie Rotten. Tell me it doesn't look exactly like Bayley. Maybe the actor that played Robbie Rotten, rest in peace, though. She had a match with Bayley that was just unbelievable. And it was really mostly because of her. It was like she carried the match to me. I adore Io Sky. I want to see Io Sky in some Japanese horror movies, man. Sign me up. I am all for it because that is a talented human being, man. Good night to everyone in the chat. Good night, Hurst. Hope all's well. Good night, Hill. How were the sequels not called 2 missed calls or 3 missed calls instead of 1 missed call 2? Mystic Mac, that's a good fucking question. The sequel should have been 2 missed calls, and the third one should have been 1 final missed call. Like, that's absolutely what they should have been. But I don't know. They just didn't do that. I guess the taglines are funny in some of these movies, like the whole, like, you can't put death on hold. Like, I thought that those were funny, man. Watch the American remake and rant on it. I really have never seen the American remake. I've heard things. I've seen trailers. Oh, man, I don't know. I know that Shannon Sossaman's hotness could get me through that movie. There's no fucking doubt that she could, because she's a beautiful fucking lady. But no, man, I don't know. I never, and this was specifically Japanese, so I didn't have to do the American remake, which I'm glad, because I really had no time for it this week. I had time for these 3 movies. That was it. They're all almost 2 hours. They're pretty long movies. I've only watched the American version, unfortunately. We'll check these out. Never really knew they existed until this stream, to be honest. Wow, so you thought One Missed Call 08 was an original movie. That's so interesting. They all are on Tubi, I think. I think you can watch them all on Tubi. I got this in the Arrow sale. It was like pretty cheap for all 3 movies, and of course it's like a 2-disc special edition set. So I don't know. I was definitely down to get this, and I was doing this show. I was like, dude, this is the perfect time to do it. One of the most frustrating things about making calls outside in the community is that before many of us could afford cell phones, we had to use a payphone. Yeah, sure. I remember when the days of payphone dying out, for sure. I second Brett. We need a Grande rant watch along of American One Missed Call. A watch along? Oh no. I would if people really want me to review it, I mean, I will. I can watch it. Where can I watch the One Missed Call remake? If anyone lets me know, I'll try to get to it in the future. No fucking rush though. I'm a little one missed called out. How was the sound in these? I noticed the sound can be pretty bad in J-horror. Dude, you know what? I'm actually happy you asked that. All 3 of these from Arrow. Now, you're not going to get this on Tubi, but from Arrow are 5.1 sound, Japanese sound. Incredible. The first one, the sound design in the first one that Miike did was just so technically incredible. Like some of the scare sequences and that big force push scene, the whole exorcism scene, the sound design there, it shook my house. Like I remember my mom called me on the phone, or she texted me. She's like, "What the fuck are you watching?" Because my subwoofer goes nuts. Like if you watch a movie with really good sound and sound design, if you will, my subwoofer will literally shake my house. It's the most fun time you'll have watching a movie. Like, oh man, it was great. I would say the sound in the first, pretty much all 3 of them was pretty good, but the first movie, especially if you have this, and if you have a really good sound bar, subwoofer, Dolby Atmos, granted, this isn't Dolby Atmos, but I have that type of technology for it. So it really, I mean, I got the full use out of the sound here. So I would say really good. Mateo says, would you recommend to deep dive into Japanese horror? If so, must watch and what to avoid like the plague. Wow, that's a good question. I say yes, Mateo, to your first question. I'm then again though, man, I'm into a lot of different like flavors of horror. Like I really like I'm big into these movies. I'm also big into giallo. You look at most people that go gaga for these movies, they're not watching they've never seen a giallo in their life. They don't know what fucking giallo is. You know, and then on the other hand, I'm assuming, and I don't know about this, but I would assume you're hardcore. I know you're hardcore giallo guy, but I would assume you've not deep dived into this if you're asking me that question. I go as far as to assume that. So if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I don't, it's just certain types of horror that just don't go. Like I think J horror and like Spanish horror would go, but you know, and then Italian and American horror, like certain genres and styles and countries that would be good companion pieces to one another. I don't know if Japan and Italy is different, but I think both could be really great for 2 different reasons. Now my must watch J horror. Oh man. To expand overall, I think Hauzu is always the first one that comes to mind. It's just such a fun, crazy, wacky movie where they used every single special effect that they could in the book. They just used creativity with the paintings, and they've got to do a 4K of that movie. Like that movie will look So good in 4K. It looks great on the standard Blu-ray from like 2010. I can only imagine what a 4K scan of that movie will look like. I can't wait for that day to come. Oni Baba is a big one. I think the original Ring is a huge one. All the first 4 Ju-on movies, I think, are master classes. Like, if you want to see how to direct horror, like what a great horror director does, it's Takashi Shimizu directing the Ju-on movies, man. He is just, I think he's the best scare sequence director ever. I really do believe that. He is great. And it's not just that movie. It's, Reincarnation. It's Maribito. It's movies like that just really blew me away. Of course, Takashi Miike, no exception. Gozu, of course, Audition, of course, Box, of course, Imprint. There's so many great Takashi Miike fun movies. Tetsuo the Iron Man, Ichi the Killer, Battle Royale. These are Japanese horror movies that are religion to me. Like, I love all the ones I just said. Ones to avoid, like The Plague, that's tough. I also like to include Pulse. I think Pulse is a really good movie. The first Pulse, not the American. I have seen the American remake of that, and it's fucking for the birds. I'd avoid that one like The Plague. J-horror movies that I'd avoid like The Plague. One Missed Call 2, for sure. That's a piece of shit. Sadako 3D, Sadako 3D 2, fucking Ju-on Beginning of the End, Ju-on The Final Curse, fucking more bad J-horror. I don't know. I guess I'd have to sit down and really like make a list for you to give you like a top 10 of J-horror movies that I fucking stay away from. But I don't know. I think a lot of them are very interesting. I like Japanese style. I like that it's funny, their culture is very similar to a lot of things I like. Horror is very big there. Baseball is very big there. Wrestling is very big there. Those are 3 of my favorite things. Baseball is my favorite sport. Wrestling, I had a big falling out with wrestling. I didn't watch wrestling for quite some time, but I do love it. And I'm wearing a Graveyard Disciples t-shirt. So there you go. That tells you I like wrestling. I love, of course, horror movies is my favorite of those 3 love-wise. They're huge in all those things. They're a big seafood culture. Love seafood. Love cherry blossoms. Love the fucking bullet trains. If there was a foreign country I could ever visit, it would be Japan. I always wanted to go. I used to tell my ex that. I was like, I really want to go to Japan. And she would always be like, no, I don't want to. I'm not interested. I'll be like, come on. Like, I really want to go to Japan someday. That's a big, I love Studio Ghibli. I don't know. There's something about their culture that I always really liked. They have a lot of appealing things for me. But that is neither here nor there, I guess. That's just kind of a fun fact on me. Mateo, I really liked Audition, one of my personal favorites. That's a classic. That's just a classic movie. I had to jump out of here, but I'm back now. Sean's back in the house. I'd say the Suicide Club and Tokyo Gore Police. Those are 2 other ones that I'd say watch for sure. Tokyo Gore Police, if you like special makeup effects and gore, it's like just such a creative, brilliant movie. Tetsuo the Iron Man is pretty wild. Junk is dopey but fun. Okay. With Evil Dead Trap movies being mentioned tonight, love the first one and swear that is the creators of Saw got the idea from. No, they're not going to be mentioned tonight, but that's other ones we could recommend for Mateo. Oni Baba from 64, totally. That's a great one. I'm trying to think. There's another Kwaidan. I think it's called Kwaidan, which is like a Japanese horror anthology from the 60s, which is one of the best anthology horror movies ever made. It's their creep show. It's their, oh my God. How could I forget about this? Granted, this one is not just Japan, but my second favorite horror anthology ever is 3 Extremes. It's one from Korea, one from Hong Kong, one from Japan. And each is like 45 minutes long. It's a 3-way extreme horror anthology. It's my second favorite horror anthology ever. I adore 3 Extremes. That's one I highly recommend anybody watch. One of the most popular things back before Caller ID was youngsters making prank calls. That's right. They would make, that's right. Let's see. Later Argento leaves me cold. Yeah, it does for a lot of people. That's true. The first Evil Dead Trap is inventive with its kills and has a nice twist that isn't obvious. The next movie is the questionable one. Sure. They need to put Bailey under a mask. Yeah, Bailey is atrocious looking, man. And I don't think she can really wrestle. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. Thanks Graveyardians for the recommendations. Inferno kicks asses. I'm deaf. I'm deaf. Dude, where's the 4K of that too, man? We're way overdue there. Halloween masks appear. WrestleMania 40 Night 2 was incredible. Kudos to Triple H. I'd agree with that. I really would. I've only seen the first One Missed Call. Didn't care for that much overall. I tend to like the older J horror stuff. Sure, yeah, no, hey, I totally understand that. If you like Sossaman, check out Rules of Attraction. Oh, hell yeah, there you go. That could be a fun watch along. LO Inferno does kick ass. Hell yeah. I love House and Evil Death Trap. Yeah, oh, can't go wrong with either one of those. Cool, thanks. A lot of older J horror seems to be low budget. Ringu had bad sound. Oh man, dude. I think Ringo's a perfect movie. I really do. I love that film. House from 77, fun and crazy. Oni Baba's fantastic. I just checked Amazon. You can rent American One Missed Call for $3.59. Oh no. No. Oh no, we're not putting one dime behind that fucking piece of shit. Agreed Mystic. JP says Graveyard rocks. Thank you, man. Hey man, we're rocking it. Graveyard. Yeah. We're rocking it tonight. I need to get Oni Baba and also 80s J horror film called Sweet Home from 89. I've never seen Sweet Home from 89. She's an ex for a reason, Grande. That's true. She is an ex for a reason. She can go fuck herself, to be perfectly honest with you. Sorry, not sorry. John, you were spot on. I have only Battle Royale and Audition, but another 2 or 3 under my belt. Italian and Japanese culture are at the extremes for sure. Yes, and I think that's why I'd hesitate maybe, but I do think there's a lot of good out there. I do. I think that's the beauty of a big reason why I like doing this show, period, is because I like to jump from culture to culture. Like last week we were doing Basket Case, which is a big like American trilogy. The following week we're doing a big Japanese trilogy. And then we've done Italian specials. We did the Giallo special with Matteo himself. I try to cover as much even internationally as I can. I think it's fun. It's definitely kind of fun to do. And I will continue to try to do these Japanese horror specials to continue to kind of, broaden people's horizons for sure. 964 Pinocchio is a good one as well. It's one I have not seen either. Japan is amazing. Only been twice, but about 13 years apart. What a difference it made. Okay. I could picture Grande at a Japanese wrestling match. I understand the crowd is very different. Oh, they're a lot more reserved. If you watch a Wrestle Kingdom, they don't pop like American fans. Like American fans fucking pop and chant things, come up with Japanese. It's very respected. It's very, I don't know. It's just such a different atmosphere, different vibe. But I'd love to go someday. I really would. Japan is like my foreign country I want to go to. That's like the big shoot for. So maybe someday. Greetings, Grande. This film scared me from setting up a voicemail. So to even this day, I never set one up because of this film. Wow, that's pretty funny. That's pretty cool. The monkey checks in. Oh, I'm actually too scared to leave the country. I can't shake the thought of giving up my rights once I leave the country. And you got to be aware of the laws in different countries too. Sure. Hey, I don't know if you're a Harold and Kumar fan, but when they try to go to Guantanamo Bay, that movie can horrify anybody of trying to leave the United States. But I don't know. There's been horror movies that do that. Look at Hostel. Granted, I think Hostel's a piece of monkey shit. No offense to the monkey, but I definitely, I don't know. I could see that. I'm not there with Japan, but there are countries that I would avoid. There's no doubt about it. Battle Royale is crazy. Clearly stolen by Hunger Games years later. That's so true, and it's not. Hunger Games not half as good as Battle Royale. Battle Royale is like one of the best movies ever, and I wanted to cover it tonight, but I just didn't get a chance. I know Arrow released a 4K of it, but the features discs are region locked, and I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that. Same with, they did a Ju-On set of like all the Ju-On movies up to White Ghost and Black Ghost, and for some reason, all of those were region locked except the one Ju-On the Grudge, which is a 4K disc, and the rest of them are all region locked. I was like, dude, this is garbage. Like, why? Just don't meet Godzilla if you go to Japan. Dude, I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I love Godzilla. And there are plenty of Godzilla films I can recommend too. Like, I definitely, one of the shows down the road I do want to do like a Godzilla show. Like maybe a top 5, top 10 Godzilla movies, and maybe have a guest on for that. That would be a lot of fun to do somewhere down the road. Hey, how's it going? Hey, everybody, it's the horror tuber of the month, Jinja Ninja JK in the house. Welcome, Jinja. Hope all's well with you. Congrats again. Jinja's, like I said, the last episode, running through the Wrong Turn movies. He reviewed my personal favorite, Wrong Turn number 2, tonight on the show. So, or I guess today is Friday franchise thing. He dropped a little early. So awesome, man. Celebrating that. That's awesome. Congratulations to you. That's awesome. Harold and Kumar smoke with President. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And you guys just blew my fucking mind. I absolutely love Harold and Kumar, all three of them. And I know if you have White Castle by you, they just did the 20th anniversary Harold and Kumar Crave case. You could buy the Crave case or Crave clutch with them on it. I've been meaning to get it, but I don't have anybody to share 20 burgers with, unfortunately. Sean, I heard Russia is very welcoming and democratic with Americans. Yeah, no, for sure, man. OMG, I love Godzilla too. I could be the guest. Oh, no, they say he's got to go. Go, go, Godzilla. Woo! I'm a huge Godzilla mark, man. I loved especially the new Godzilla -1. I thought was brilliant. But yeah, no, this is funny. I'll tell you what though, I will have to go to Canada someday to meet Mernsey and Mateo and whoever else in my fan base that lives in Canada. Japan is super safe. I only met one Yakuza guy ever, and that's because the veteran I was staying with had to make a house call on his fighting dog. Okay, that's a story and a half there. Let's see. Hi, Jinja. Congrats on Tuber. Thanks. Oh God, that would be my last on the list along with Syria. Oh God. So okay, it looks like Cinephile Sandy's gonna have to make a list of the top countries he's afraid to go to. That would be funny. Eat all the burgers on the graveyard, dude. Fun anecdote. I'll never forget. I was with my friend. It was a Halloween night, and my big tradition I don't know why this is. Maybe it's a childhood thing, but every Halloween night I watch Trilogy of Terror 2. That's my go-to Halloween night movie. I love it's my favorite horror anthology. Long Live Bobby. Absolutely love that movie. My friend came over, and he's a big workout guy. Brandon's his name, and he's funny. He's getting married in a few months. It makes me feel like a kid telling the story, even though we weren't too young doing this. This was only a few years ago. And he says, man, you talk all this shit, you could eat and all this. He's like, man, I work out, I grind, I can out-eat you any day. And I said, bitch, no, you can't. And we had plans to watch that movie on Halloween night. And I said, I'll tell you what, we'll get a Crave case, and whoever eats more, bragging rights forever. And he says, okay. So he worked out hardcore. He comes here. We get the fucking Crave case, 30 cheese sliders. And in the back of my head, I'm like, bro, all I got to do is get to 16 and I win. If I get to 16, he can't beat me. He can have 14. He can take his fucking candy ass time. If I get to 16, I beat this son of a bitch. So I'm pounding him down. He's pounding him down. Next thing I know is I'm at 16. I beat him. I'm like, I look up. I'm like, I got him. I got him beat. And I made the fatal mistake of having a victory lap burger. Number 17. I had 17 White Castle cheeseburgers. I'll never forget it. That last one, I swear to you, was the difference. It made me sick. I turned blue, and I felt like fucking Jabba the Hutt on the couch. I was like, ugh. Like fucking, all was missing was fucking Carrie Fisher being chained to me. I was fucking sick. I was like a slug. And he starts laughing at me. He's like, oh, I stopped at 9, and he's making fun of me and shit. Dude, it was crazy. I'll never eat that many cheeseburgers in my life again. But yes, 17 is my record. I had 17 White Castle burgers, and I felt like I was going to die. Like I really, truly was scared for my life and that I was going to die. But I'm still here. I turned unblue. But yeah, no, that is a true story. On Halloween night, funny enough, all 20 of them. 17 was the line, brother. I could never and would never. If I'm really hungry now, I'll do like 8 to 10. That's like I think 10 is a good number. 10 is enough too. But 8, sometimes I'll do the doubles. I actually like the doubles because they don't feel as filling. I can have like a couple of those and a couple of the singles, and I feel good. So 2 doubles, 2 singles. That's kind of 6 overall. People saying hi. I've traveled overseas a couple of times by myself. Was an experience. I'd like to someday. I really would. I really, really would. Love Trilogy of Terror. I like the first one. I love the second one. I think it's one of the most underrated fucking movies ever made, and nobody talks about it. I love it. Dan Curtis was the legend. I love Dan Curtis. Anytime, John, I mean it. CA. Dude, yeah. I'm telling you, one of these days, I don't know if they'll do a convention up there that I could go to, meet you guys, or maybe we'll go to a Jays Mets game someday. Definitely would love to meet Mateo and Mernsey, and like I said, anybody up in the Great White North. That'd be cool. I must have seen too many movies, but the thought of traveling out of the country gives me anxiety, and I'm sure it's only bad in my head. Listen, I mean, I don't know if it's all in your head. Now with Japan, I kind of feel like that would be safe. But like China, I don't know if I'd be that daring. I don't know. There are certain places where I don't know if I would fucking take the fucking shot at. I really don't. So I don't think it's all in your head. I think certain, it depends on which ones in particular, but I don't think they're all bad. Yeah, true. That's true story. I wouldn't mind going to Brussels and seeing my favorite muscles, JCVD. Dude, JCVD is the man. I love freaking Universal Soldier. Love fucking what the fuck? Not Kickboxer's good, but what is the one? Bloodsport. Bloodsport's great. JCVD is awesome. One White Castle burger is enough to make me puke. Oh wow, okay, not a fan of the Castle. Alpha's also not a fan of Kentucky Fried Chicken, even though he's pro and from Kentucky. Crazy enough. Hello, Miss C. The grease that comes with the White Castle burgers liquid cancer. Well, I think I've got it then. It's in my veins. Can't wait to travel to America and get me some White Castle. Ginger, if you do it, man, if you come to New York, I'll meet you there. I'll totally meet you there, and crave case on me. Just if you try to out-eat me, I'm going to let you, because I will never try to out-eat anybody at White Castle again. Are you going to LDW? I'm attending my first one in June, about damn time. Man, I am not going to LDW. I went for my first time last year. I had such a wonderful vacation. I really, really did. I needed it. It was like at a time where I just started a new job and just passed probation for that job. So it was like my first days off of the job. So it was like a really nice, I met Scott Reiniger. I met Ken Forey. I met Galen. No, I didn't meet Galen. I met Galen recently. I met fucking John Amplis, who signed for free. I met Gornick, who wanted me to buy an $85 Creepshow 2 book, which was funny. I met Richard France, and we talked about New York, because he was a big stage actor there. That was where he started his career, was in New York. Then, of course, ventured on with George, with the Crazies, and of course, Dawn of the Dead. I had a great time. I think you'll have a great time, too. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely – and now knowing that the hotel connected to the Monroeville Mall closed down – I don't know. Alpha's here. Alpha will probably know better than me, but that can't be good for that mall. I am truly doubtful that mall will be around much longer. So I think you should go. You should enjoy yourself. You should go meet the guy that dresses up like Flyboy, because he looks exactly like fucking David Emge. I don't know. I think it's really cool. So I enjoyed the hell out of myself. It's a George Romero fan's dream. It's a Dawn of the Dead fan's absolute dream vacation. So I think you will have a great time, my friend. JCVD for life. Sean, don't watch the news first if you decide to travel out of the country. Terrifying stuff you hear. I don't watch the news, period, because it's just all that's real horror. We could talk about J horror all night, and it won't scare me as much as the 11 o'clock news. Do you know where your children are? That's why I want to go to America. Horror conventions. Do they not have them? You're Australian, right? They don't have any horror conventions in Australia? That sucks, man. I honestly didn't know that. I would assume they would, but again, yeah, to fucking Australia, that's got to be a deep flight, man. I don't know. What is it to fly to Australia? Like, how many? It has to be over a day, right? It would have to be like crazy long time in the air, I think. Yeah, Jinja. Yeah, I can't tolerate the news. That would certainly make everything worse for me. Yeah, it's Sean Blue, man. I think if they ever make a Hostel 4, I know who's got to be the star. It's Sean. It's Cinephile Sanity. Give this guy the paycheck to go overseas. And he won't be acting at all. It'll be real terror. Be like, yo, Grande, I gotta get the fuck out of here. He's hitting up Texas and Juno. Juno, man, I'll pay you dumb money to pick me up. Hey, they're paying you to be in a movie. I'll be there. That would be funny shit. JK horror conventions and all the guns you want to shoot. Okay. I'm a chicken, though. I don't like to travel out of my own state. Oh, out of your own state. All right. So you stay in the box. That's interesting. None at all. They have conventions, but they're a mix of sci-fi, comic book, and some horror. Yeah, I hate conventions like that. That's like limp horror conventions where it's like, oh, we'll try to advertise it kinda and get you. That's lame. But yeah, no, I didn't. I am sorry. I didn't realize that. I don't know why I assumed they would in Australia, but it makes sense. I mean, it's got to be a deep fucking flight to get from here to there. So I understand. I mean, I guess I know the guy from Wolf Creek. He's Australian. I think he's straight out of Australia. So who knows? Maybe you'll run into him sometime, or the director, Greg McLean, whatever his name is. I know I've sent a couple of packages to Australia, but that's the extent of me leaving the country. Yeah, no. I've seen Kangaroo Jack. This is as close as I'm getting to fucking Australia. No, I'm kidding. I actually would like to go to. I think Australia is brilliant. years ago, I wanted to go to Australia. I don't know why. I still would. I think it'd be a cool place to go. So definitely Australia would be one I'd want to visit for sure. I wouldn't be afraid to put it that way. It wouldn't be any fear, but yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Oh, no way. Yeah, I met him before at a local pub. No, you fucking no, you didn't. Are you kidding me? That is so funny. I was fucking around. You actually met him in a pub. That is amazing. That's comment of the night. That is so fucking funny. Hey, Joel Jarrett. That's fucking awesome, man. That is so freaking cool. I can't believe I was literally swear on my mother's grave was kidding. Like, oh, maybe you'll run into him at a 7-Eleven. He fucking did run into the guy at a bar. That's so sick, man. Yeah, that is so cool. What a small world. What a small country, I guess. Continent, I guess. I would absolutely travel to Australia, but only if Silverchair was having a reunion show. Oh, man. Wow. We went from Japan to fucking Australia. This is only on the graveyard. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's only on the graveyard. Yeah, no, this is after the One Missed Call Trilogy has kind of gone off into some interesting side topics. If you guys want to keep talking, we can, but I know we've had our side talk for a while tonight, so totally understand. Australia is amazing, but it has the most extreme venomous animals in one place: octopus, snakes, spiders. Oh my! Oh hey man, I love octopus, eating octopus. So I'll head over there. I'll hang out with Ginger Ninja. We'll go to the fucking pub with John Jarrett, and we'll have some octopus till we can't eat no till we turn blue like Jabba, or blue like I did when I had 17 fucking White Castle burgers because Jabba's green. Yeah, no. So let me give a brief promotion to next week's video. Of course, next week. What the hell is next week? I think next week is the Video Nasties number 7 or number 8. I forget what number we're on. Video Nasty special. I have not selected the 3 Nasties. I'm debating doing this. I want to do 3 random Nasties and then just do them from there. That's my plan. That's my fucking plan. I don't know if we're gonna. If I do 3 at random, maybe I'll do a video where it's like I'll spin a wheel of the Nasties I haven't covered, and whatever 3 show up, we'll cover. So maybe we'll do something like that, like as a free like pre-show. But otherwise, very much looking forward to that. And then, of course, Tales from the Crypt season 4 is going to be the following week. I saw many people message me about that. Very excited. So very excited to go back into the Tales from the Crypt series. Some comments before we wrap here. Great show tonight. You've got to check out the American remake. I'm sure the show's got to end and Brett's going to be like, oh my God, dude, you got to see American fucking remake. I know it's coming. The ends of the earth. Only. That's funny. Yeah, from Japan to Australia and the ends of the earth. Hey, Grande, Kubrick right at the end here. That would suck to buy a super expensive house in Australia only to find out that it is on top of a scorpion breeding ground. Yeah, in America, it's the Indian burial ground. In fucking Australia, it's the scorpion breeding ground. That's the fucking poltergeist in Australia that would be, oi, there's a fucking bloody scorpion on there. Only on the graveyard, 2 sweet peas. Hell yeah. Dude, you don't even know. I know. I'm going to remind you until you watch the shit. Oh, no. Do a poll of that's not a bad idea. I was going to very shortly going to do a poll of either the actor's spotlight. I was also thinking of maybe doing director's spotlight. Like, I would love, and it's funny, Kubrick lovers here, I would love to do a Kubrick retrospective. I think that would be a fun episode. So I'll agree with Miss C. Okay, you guys want to fucking, all right, we can do a poll. That's totally fine. I know I had an actor spotlight that I was going to do a poll on, but maybe we'll do director spotlight. Maybe we'll do actors again. Maybe we'll do one or the other. I don't know, but we will do a poll for that. And if you guys don't want me to spin the wheel, we'll do a poll for the Nasties. Absolutely no problem. We'll do a poll. I'm sorry, I didn't read this. I think the flight to LA to Australia is like 19 hours long. So from New York to Australia, add 5 hours, that's a day. That's a 24-hour if you're uninterrupted. But I'm sure it would be interrupted because you'd have to have a connecting flight, I would think. I don't know, though. I don't know. Not planning it anytime soon. Don't have the money for it right now, even though, is neither here nor there. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. Did you force yourself to watch Festival of the Living Dead? Yikes. I did not watch that. I know Alpha did, and I heard it was a piece of monkey shit. So I will listen to the man because Alpha does not lie, and Alpha's a smart human. But everybody, thank you so much for checking this out. If you're commenting down below in the post show, let me know what you think. If you've seen any of these movies, One Missed Call, One Missed Call 2, and One Final Missed Call, which is what it should be called. Let me know what you think of Mimiko. Let me know what you think of Lily. Let me know what you think of Mikei's direction, the writing, all that stuff. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. And yes, Video Nasty special next week. Looking very much forward to it. And everybody, that's it for now. Too Sweet Peace, and you can catch us next time only on the Graveyard. Too Sweet Peace. Good night, everybody.